All right, welcome. Today, we're going to tackle the number 1. I know, sounds pretty simple, doesn't it? But what if I told you that this one little number holds one of the most complex and honestly, one of the most exciting ideas in all of faith and even science? Let's dive in.
So let's start with a question that feels like a total brain teaser. Is it possible for 3 to equal 1? Now, this isn't some math trick. It's a really deep philosophical puzzle that forces us to rethink what unity even means. And believe it or not, the key is hidden inside a single ancient word.
And that brings us to this one Hebrew word, echad. You might not have heard of it before, but it is the absolute key to this whole mystery. It introduces this powerful idea that we can call composite unity.
So what exactly is echad? Well, it's not the number 1 you learned in kindergarten. It doesn't mean a single, solitary thing. Instead, echad describes a unified whole that's made up of distinct, harmonized parts. Think of it like a team or an orchestra, a unity through diversity, not a unity of simple sameness.
And you see this idea pop up all over ancient texts. In Genesis, you have a husband and wife, 2 totally separate people who come together to become one flesh. In Exodus, a whole bunch of individual curtains are joined together to create one tabernacle. So when we get to the most important prayer in Judaism, the Shema, and it declares that God is one, that he is echad, it's using that same rich, complex meaning.
So what does this tell us about God? It suggests that this oneness isn't about being alone. It's about a relational fullness. It's a oneness that contains an incredible, dynamic relationship within itself. And that idea, well, that became the foundation for one of the most famous concepts in all of theology. You guessed it, this idea of echad, of composite oneness, is the absolute bedrock for the Christian doctrine of the Trinity. It's the theological expression of this very same idea. So the standard view, which you'll find in most of Christianity, is this: there is one God, a single, indivisible divine being or essence. But, and this is the key part, this one essence is shared completely and equally by 3 distinct persons: the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. One being, 3 persons.
Jesus himself gets at this exact idea when he says, "I and the Father are one." He's not saying they are the very same person. He's talking about a perfect unity of being, of will, of nature. To see one is to see the other. To know one is to know the other. They are distinct, yet they are completely, indivisibly one. Now, this little comparison here makes that distinction really clear. Mainstream Christianity talks about one divine essence, or one being. That's what we call an ontological unity, a unity of being. On the other hand, Latter-day Saint theology describes 3 separate divine beings, 3 essences, who are perfectly united in their purpose. That's a functional cooperation. It's a really important difference in how the Godhead is understood.
Okay, but how are our modern minds supposed to really get this ancient idea of 3 in 1? Well, get ready, because this is where things take a fascinating turn. We're going to look at a parable, not from religion, but from physics. It turns out Einstein's most famous equation might just be the best explainer for echad we've ever found.
E equals MC². We've all seen it, we all know it. But for a second, let's forget the math and just look at what it's telling us about reality. It says that energy, mass, and the speed of light aren't really separate things. They're just different expressions of the exact same underlying reality. They're basically interchangeable. So let's run with this as an analogy. Just imagine the Father as c², the speed of light, this unchanging constant, the very dimension that reality exists in. Then think of the Son as m, for mass. That's light condensed into physical form. You could even say the Word made flesh. And that leaves the Spirit as E, for energy, the animating force, the breath of life that flows through everything. 3 very different concepts, but all part of one single unbreakable reality.
And here's the kicker. The whole thing is completely interdependent. You can't just pull one piece out. Mass is a form of energy. Energy has a mass equivalent, and both are fundamentally tied to the constant of light. Take one away, and the whole picture of reality it describes just falls apart. It's a perfect mirror of that co-equal, codependent nature of the Trinity.
So this pattern of a unified source that expresses itself in different ways, it's a powerful one. And it gets you wondering, right? Does this idea show up anywhere else? Well, let's zoom out a bit and see if we can find echoes of this universal light in another major world faith, Islam.
Now, just for some quick context, the Quran was revealed around 6 centuries after the New Testament, and it presents itself as a confirmation of that original monotheistic message. Okay, so listen to this description of God from the New Testament. It says flat out, God is light, and in him is no darkness at all. I mean, that's a foundational statement about the very nature of the divine.
Now hold that thought and listen to this famous verse from the Quran. Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. The overlap? It's just stunning. You have two different traditions, separated by hundreds of years, using the exact same core metaphor, light, to talk about the ultimate reality.
So what could that possibly mean? It really points to the idea that both scriptures are describing the same fundamental source, that maybe light isn't just something in the universe. Maybe it's the very medium of the universe. One light, one reality, one source.
And when you lay it all out like this, the pattern becomes crystal clear. Look at this. In physics, you have energy, mass, and light, all expressions of one reality. In Christian theology, you have the Spirit, the Son, and the Father, all persons of one being. And if you zoom out to Revelation in general, you see different names: Allah, God, the Source, all pointing to a single ultimate reality. It's the same pattern again and again, one source, multiple expressions.
And this brings us to a really powerful kind of mind-blowing conclusion. When those ancient scriptures say God is light, maybe they aren't just being poetic. They might actually be making a profound statement about the fundamental structure of reality itself, a structure that modern physics, in its own way, is just now starting to understand.
Which leaves us with one last massive question to chew on. Are science and faith, after all these centuries, actually just using different words to describe the very same unified reality? Something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.